What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dabrunski here, and today I'm going to be showcasing what I think is the #1 melee build in Diablo 2. That is, of course, the Zealot Paladin. Again, asterisks in my humble opinion. But I'm going to try and showcase two different styles of this build, so a teleporting and fortitude version. I do think the teleport version is better, although you guys know by now that I'm super biased when it comes to Enigma. It is the single best rune word, but that is whatever. But I do think a couple guys are going to sound off in the comment section below for a few different gear choices that I tried to take advantage of for this build video. There's more to life than grief and G-Face. Gonna try and prove it today. So I do hope you guys enjoy this video. Like all my previous build videos, timestamps will be in the description below. So if you guys want to jump back and forth between certain segments of the video, like the attributes, key points, gear, skill tree, gameplay, etc., they're there for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. And also a quick reminder for those that don't know, I do stream it twice a week on Twitch. So if you guys do enjoy my YouTube content, if you wouldn't mind hitting me up with a follow on that platform, the link for my Twitch channel is of course in the description below. Twitch/Dabrunski125. Any follows there would be very much appreciated. But guys, I hope you enjoy this build video. Let's jump in. So there's a couple overall kind of key pros and cons that I want to talk about in regards to the Zealot Paladin specifically before I jump into some more details. And the first major pro with this build is of course the ridiculous, insane damage output. So between rune words like Grief for using Death, being able to stack lots of Deadly Strike, Rushing Blow, a Might Aura from your Mercenary, your Fanaticism Aura, and then with the right gears and charms you can have like 15, 16k Zeal, and then you're swiping 5 attacks really quickly. It's just a recipe for insane damage. And the second major pro is that your Mercenary actually becomes literally god tier level. Now you might think that like Fortitude, Infinity, and Dariel's Visage, that's a really powerful Mercenary, and it is. But if you use something like a Reaper's Toll Mercenary, and Dariel's with Ruby Jewel Fervor, or just any other increased attack speed jewel, Fortitude, but stacking that Might Aura with Fanaticism and that Decrep proc, it really just puts your Mercenary's damage like way above any other kind of caster god tier Mercenary setup. So your Mercenary basically becomes a god. And the third major pro is that max block is super easy to achieve, and that is because of Holy Shield. So really high defense, and then just having max block, running around with tons of damage, and a Mercenary that is god tier just makes the Zealot Paladin, in my opinion, the best melee build in Diablo 2. There are a few cons for the Zealot Paladin, but I do have to admit that I had kind of trouble sort of coming up with a list, because you can make a budget Zealot work, you can make mid-tier work, god tier, I think it's the best melee build in the game. I mean, additional support orders for damage, max block is easy to achieve. There's just not really a lot of cons associated with the Paladin. I mean, you even have really good FCR breakpoints, but if I could kind of come up with two specific cons associated with the build, the first would be is that it is a relatively boring character. You pretty much just left click on monsters. You can teleport in between or charge in between depending on the mobility if you're using a teleport setup or not, but you're really just clicking left click on monsters. There's nothing to it. You're not, teleporting, alternating back and forth between static, blizzard, ice blast in between for a cold sorceress or anything like that. There's just nothing to it. Left click, Zeal, occasionally recast your battle orders, battle command, and Holy Shield. So it's honestly a kind of a boring character to play. And the second major con would be the build lacks AoE, but it's hard to really drag on a melee build for that, at least in LOD Diablo 2, because I think every single melee build outside of maybe a Tesladin or a Kixin with Stormlash and static field procs, or maybe a Whirlwind Barb, has horrible AoE. There's no splash damage, no form of AoE at all, and really all melee builds struggle from it, so that means that the Zealot Paladin struggles from it as well. So taking a little bit of a deeper look into the character, I'm going to briefly go over the attributes, the skill tree, and the gear. Again, you guys can pause it if you want a more detailed look, but I went almost max strength, so 530 points into strength. So before my Mercenary's Might Aura is tacked on, using Death in an Ethereal Berserker Axe, I have 3,333 to 12k Zeal damage. That is, again, before you factor in Deadly Strike. Dexterity is just enough for max block, so I have 12,000 attack rating and max block. Well, you'll see it'll be max block when I put on Holy Shield and buff up Battle Command, but again, enough dex for max block. I put enough points into Vitality to have just around 1350-ish health after battle orders, and then nothing into energy. And then my res split is 85 fire, 55 cold, 90 lightning, and 42 poison. You might be wondering why I get 85 fire res and 90 lightning. It'll kind of make more sense when I go over the gear. But this is kind of for Baal running. You can obviously tweak this and use some standard gear setup, but that's why my res is overcapped a little bit. Now for the skill tree, I'm going to start off with offensive auras first. So it completely maxed out fanaticism. So 1 into might, 1 into blessed aim, 1 into concentration to max fanaticism. Again, you guys can pause the video to read the stats. For defensive auras, I have points into defiance, that is to boost holy shield, but you want to invest those last. So for the combat skill tree, I completely maxed out zeal, I completely maxed out sacrifice. So why did I max out these two skills? Well, zeal receives a 12% synergy damage bonus from sacrifice, so I wanted to completely max out it and completely max out zeal to get the most amount of hits and damage per level. And then I put 1 hard point into smite, 1 into holy bolt, 1 into charge, 1 into blessed hammer, and then I pumped all my points into holy shield. And then once I had done that, I put points into defiance to boost the overall defense of holy shield. Now for the gear, I know I'm going to cause some controversy, so I'm going to kind of explain my reasoning behind some of the gear thought. But starting off with the inventory, just because it's very, very quick. It's max damage, attack rating, life, grand charms, max damage, attack rating, plus life, small charms, and then a torch and an Annie. That is the inventory, and the offhand is of course CTA and spirit, just to get the battle orders and battle command boost. But for the main gear, I have a couple pieces that I swap kind of in and out, but starting off with sort of your controversial pieces, I am using the rune word Death in an ethereal berserker axe. This is an amazing rune word to use for a single hand attack Zealer Paladin. Tons of crushing blow, tons of deadly strike, attack rating, glacial spike on attack, and mana stolen over hit. A really cool weapon alternative to grief, and the fanaticism aura helps make up for the lack of increased attack speed. You can still hit a max zeal breakpoint using this rune word. For the body armor, Enigma. Again, I will show some alternative gear pieces in my stash, but just for teleport and repositioning. Gloves are laying of hands, the 2 rings, dual leech, strength, quad res ring, Raven Frost for cannot be frozen. I have Gore Rider boots for deadly strike and crushing blow. Now the belt, I swap between a couple different pieces depending on if I'm using grief and trying to avoid decrep slowdown, if I want DR, or if I just want to kind of tank souls, doing some Baal running. So for this setup, I'm using T-Gods just for lightning absorb. So that's how I get that 90% lightning max res, just because of the shield and the belt that I'm using for lightning. Just takes away some of the heat from souls. Again, of course, you can always use String of Ears, Nosferatu's Coil if you want extra increased attack speed to avoid the decrep slowdown, using grief. T-Gods is a nice setup though to just take a lot of the heat out of the lightning attack from souls. I think I covered it already, but I'm using High Lord's Amulet for the deadly strike, 1 dull skills, and 20% increased attack speed. The helmet is, of course, none other than a 2 open socket Crown of Ages with 2 Ruby Jewels of Fervor. So the 2 Ruby Jewels of Fervor in here, it's an increased attack speed ED Jewel. They are not legit. I'm just being honest. In 3 years, I have never found a 2 open socket Crown of Ages, and have not found more than 1 of these jewels. So I just wanted to demonstrate for the build something different than G-Face. So we get resistances, damage reduction, increased attack speed for that Zeal breakpoint, and some ED. Again, not quite as good as G-Face, but it's something alternative to use. And the shield, which is probably going to be the biggest controversial choice here for this build setup, I am using the rune word Phoenix. Now, for those that are going to say in the comment section below, Phoenix interrupts Zeal, it does technically, and it doesn't. So the chance to cast Firestorm on striking, that only impacts the first initial Zeal strike. If it procs on strike 2 through 4, the last strike doesn't really matter. It will not interrupt your chain of attack. And since you're just spam clicking left anyways, I find that it's not that big a deal. It doesn't bother me, but it's a really cool shield. I mean, Redemption Aura, Life, Max Lightning, and Fire Res. It's 45 all res shield base. You have Fire Absorb, so it's a very, very powerful shield to use for a Zealer. And yeah, it's just something different. And don't forget, it rolls 350 to 400 ED, I believe. So this is a 373% ED shield. So again, more damage. I'm just showing off some of the traditional weapons. for those that are going to sound off in the comment section below. Herald of Zakharum with an ED jewel is an excellent choice. Fortitude is a great body armor, although you cannot reposition your mercenary. Grief is sort of your standard go-to weapon. It's great. I just like using Death as an alternative. Of course, you have String of Ears, and there's also G-Face and Nosferatu's Coil. For those that are wondering maybe why you want to use Nosferatu's Coil, if you put this belt on, and then Grief, if I have 113% increased attack speed, I will not be slowed down by Grief. So 40 increased attack speed here, 30 here, 20 on the amulet, 20 on the gloves, plus the 10 on the belt. I do not get slowed down by Decrep. So this is a cool choice for doing Baal running. But again, I'm going to go with the Thunder Gods setup just to be different. Now, as far as the mercenary goes, I'm using an Act 2 Nightmare offensive merc, using an Ethereal Reaper's Toll with a Ruby Jewel Fervor, an Ethereal and Dariel's Visage with a Ruby Jewel Fervor. Again, increased attack speed, Fire Res, or increased attack speed ED. Jewels are both called Ruby Jewels of Fervor, but that's why this and Dariel's Visage is -9 Fire Res, because I have a 21% Fire Res jewel in this helmet. And then, of course, an E-Bugged Fortitude just for more damage. So the Mercenary has 5k max damage, and that's before he gets his Might Aura and Fanaticism, so he does a crap ton of damage, attacks super fast, and is a source of Decrepify that really helps boost my overall damage. So I'm going to demonstrate two different example setups. The first is going to be farming Baal with an Enigma Death Runeward setup, and the second is going to be Chaos Sanctuary with a more traditional Grief Fortitude charging setup for mobility. Just gives you guys kind of a better idea of the different feel of these two different Zealot Paladins. Again, I much prefer the teleport version because you can reposition your mercenary like whenever you want to. And you can actually get around pretty good. Even though I have... Oh, those souls. Mana burn kind of got me right away. But this is like very low FCR and I can still get around pretty good. And it's just the ability to just reposition your mercenary. It's just better than the tiny little bit extra damage that you get. Again, in my humble opinion. But I did take a decent amount of damage there, considering the 80 lightning resistance that I have. This is players 8. Wave 1. Down. I do, unfortunately, get a little bit slowed down from Decrepify with this setup, because I don't have quite that 113% increased attack speed with the Rumored Grief. But I will for the final 2 waves. I'll kind of pull myself down a little bit from Baal, so I'm not really getting slowed down, because right now I'm getting slowed down a bit from Baal's Curse. Just love that ability to just reposition the mercenary. Just makes Enigma just that good. Really does. Really does. Not to mention, like, Hydras will heal me with this setup because we're using the Rumored Phoenix. But that's another thing, too. If you guys notice, the Interrupt proc is really not that bad on Phoenix. I mean, for some builds, like a Fire Claw Werebear, yeah, it's horrible. But I really do think that for the Zealer, it's a pretty solid option. I just want to pull these guys down just a hair. I just don't want to deal with being decrept. Kind of really takes away from showing like the full potential of this build. But again, that is using the Rumored Death. Death and not using G-Face. There are different options if you experiment in Theorycraft a little bit. Ooh, Stone Skin Lister. That's not going to be very good. I'll slow us down a little bit. Stone Skin players 8. Okay, and then we'll do players 8 Baal. Hopefully the mercenary gets decrep proc right away. Then he won't teleport. Other than that, it's pretty much just sit down and hold left click. Players 3 would obviously speed this up a little bit, but just that ability to pull your mercenary and get that decrep proc is just so much better than like the little bit extra damage from fortitude, which I'll try and show off with like the second setup. There we go. That is a players 8 Baal wave and players 8 Baal. Obviously Baal was a little bit slower. It's not like Jabazon Charge Strike, but pretty solid setup, and didn't really have any close calls, I think, other than maybe the souls a little bit, but that's why I was rocking T-Gods. So for the Chaos Sanctuary setup, I'm going to be running a little bit more of your standard kind of gear. Grief, Fortitude, Hawes with a 40 ED Jewel, and then Nosferatu's Coil so that I don't get slowed down at all by Decrepify. It's one of the reasons why I actually really don't like farming melee in Chaos Sanctuary at all. Just because I feel like it is... Oh, this is still on Players 8 difficulty, by the way. Yeah, Players 8. We'll go down to Players 1 to get into Chaos Sanctuary, and then I'll go back up to P8. But it is just... Melee is just truly so crippling in Chaos Sanctuary. Decrep slowing you down, which we can avoid it, but also amp damage, you know, getting into the range and face of monsters. It really just is a recipe to die. And again, running 1300 life on a Zealer, I'm not making my life any easier. Like, I could go max vitality and not be like 500 points into strength, but in the effort of trying to like show off like high damage, I kind of purposefully did that to myself. But I really don't like what's that rune? Ethrin. I just really don't like charging. I find it to be very buggy, and you can get yourself kind of in trouble a lot in Chaos Sanctuary. At least I find. You guys can let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree or disagree. It's just, you know, Enigma's powerful rune word when it's like preferred on melee. But the issue is that a lot of people say, you know, well, you can use, it's overpowered, it should be nuked. Well, if Mercenary AI wasn't so bad, I don't think it'd be as big a problem. This one isn't so bad here because Mercenary is like there. The Sace is the one you really gotta watch. We'll see if I can charge through with amp damage. Oh, I got stuck. 1300 life with curses and the undead where we can't leech. Simple teleport would get us out of here. But with the fortitude setup, players 8, we are kind of just landlocked, I guess. Let's get out of here. But again, I think max block kind of saved us there. Again, sort of like going back to what I said about how melee is just really... Chaos Sanctuary is not a good place for melee. And thank God for like high defense and max block. Kind of helped save us there. Merc, get to the Sace. Okay, the Sace is dead. Stuck again. Quickly take out Vizier. Final Baal kill, player's 8. We'll kind of compare it to... Or final Diablo kill, we can compare it to the player's 8 Baal kill. Oh! Scourge.
Yes.
Horizon's Tornado. Okay, so we didn't quite pull it off. Horizon's Tornado from a build video. That would have been pretty amazing, like Ethereal Stormlash or something, but we weren't quite that lucky. But yeah, guys, that wraps up the Zealot Paladin in 2 different setups, and what I think is the undisputed #1 melee build in Diablo 2. Well, guys, there you have it. That wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, let me know in the comment section below if you guys would tweak the gear, only stick with the meta stuff, if you do like seeing little build variations. And let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see for the next Make Melee Great Again video. I have covered Frenzy Barb, Whirlwind Barb, Fury Druid, Kixen doing Ubers, now I'm doing a Zealot Paladin. So let me know what you guys would like to see next. But as always, if you guys could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube, and I do stream twice a week on Twitch. So any follows on Twitch or subs on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that, guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.